Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we are once again digging into trying to get our sim quality back to what we were used to. Now I have one fix for an issue that has come up for myself and quite a few other users that has been hiding in front of our faces the entire time. And then another one, we're going to be testing out some graphic settings that diving a little deeper than just the options in the GUI and seeing if we can't get some of our quality back. Now this may make today's video just a little bit on the longer side, as I'm not going to leave anything out. I have not done any testing of my own yet. You guys are going to see everything raw firsthand as I see it. So we'll be able to decide together whether or not these changes are worth it and what the impact is. So stick around, guys. If you are interested in learning how to fly the TBM 930 from Microsoft Flight Simulator, consider joining my Patreon site, level tier 2 or above, which gives you access to all of my guides, which include the A320, the G1000, and now the recently released Cessna Citation Longitude. These guides include everything from cockpit tours to full instructionals on how to use all the systems, creating your flight plans, as well as the different types of approaches and takeoffs that are available to the different aircrafts. They are extremely detailed, full with pictures and identifying markers to make your flight sim experience with this aircraft as easy as possible. Again, link down to my Patreon site found in the description below. All right, so jumping right into it now, the first thing I want to talk about is something that has been driving me batstick, you know what, crazy, and that is not having any ATC audio. And I know I'm not the only one who has been plagued by this, and where one day it worked and suddenly it just stopped. What it looks like is it was an update. Now, in hindsight and being fair here, I disabled my ATC a long time ago because, you know, as you guys remember, I'm sure most of you agree with me, when the game first launched, or the sim first launched, the in-sim ATC was crap. I'm just going to call it what it is. And I've heard it's gotten a lot better, and I've been wanting to test it. So ever since I've been trying to, I haven't been able to get the audio to work. I can get everything but the audio, and the audio is really what makes it or breaks it, right? So what you want to do is you want to go to options. If you are like myself and you do not have any ATC audio and you've gone through everything and you can't figure out why, okay, you're probably like me, and you started out by going to general options, you went to sound, and you went to ATC, text-to-speech settings, Azure, so it's turned on. You made sure that all of your sound options were available. They are available, and yet you still had nothing. Don't ask me why they did this. So if we go back a page here and go to assistance options, which makes no sense, and go to user experience, right there, ATC voices. Make sure you turn that on, and then your ATC should work just fine. I don't know what the difference between this and the option in the sounds menu is. I'm not sure why there's both of them, but it is what it is, right? So anyway, make sure you guys check that, and you should have your ATC back. Now to get into the good part of today's video, or next part, I would think that's a good part. We are going to see if we can't get some of our graphics quality back, okay? Now, I'm sure many of you have by now seen a lot of the footage where people are playing around with a configuration file. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, maybe you've been straying away from it. There are certain videos that I have seen a difference on. There are certain videos I couldn't tell any difference at all. So initially the first couple that I saw, I was like, I really don't see any difference, so I left it alone. And then there was one other YouTuber, and I can't for the life of me remember who it was, because I watched like 5 of them now, where he did it, and I went, all right, now I see it. I see the difference. Okay, and so we're going to play around with some of that today and see what we get. We're going to be using our 747 of all aircraft today for our test model here, and we're going to be sitting here at Los Angeles International, as you guys saw me load on the menu there. Now, we're going to sort of do a base run here, okay? I'm not as concerned with the aircraft as I am with the surroundings, as I feel that's really where we've suffered, right? And let's just do this. Let's adjust our camera speed here for a minute. I never go in these menus, and I can't ever find them because of it. Drone speed, right? Rotation speed, yeah. All right, so let's take that down quite a bit. And what does that do for us? How can that still be that fast? Like, I just dropped it by like 40%. Would you knock it off? And yes, I yell at the simulator all the time like that. Would you stop doing that? Would you not do this? Alright. I mean, really, guys. And now it's going to... Come on. Anyway, so we're going to get sort of a base here. We're going to do a quick sort of spin around the block here. There we go. That's better. I can live with that. Let me get the mouse out of the way. Okay. So we're just going to spin it here. Then I'm going to take note of what time of day it is. As we can see, it's definitely clear skies. And then we're going to start at the ground. Okay. And then as we make some changes, if we feel like, hey, yep, this is making a difference, we'll go airborne. The other thing that we're going to do right before I change everything here is we will turn on the FPS counter so that way we can see if there's any FPS loss or impact. Okay, which I'm anticipating there will be with some of it. One of the biggest complaints that we all have is the LOD was reduced by a lot. And that is the line draw distance, right? So the distance at which objects appear on the screen. Okay. All right, so first things first, let's get our developer mode turned on. And this is, again, one of those scenarios where this is going to be different for everybody. I don't want you guys to just jump in and say, yep, oh, yep, that did it for me. Let's also get into the cockpit here. Wow, 747 really doesn't do well right now, does it? And let's come up here, and we're just going to turn the screens and everything on. Again, we're just looking for impact. That's about all we need for in here. You know what's amazing to me is I'm actually seeing screen tearing, and I'm only getting 30 frames per second. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Typically, screen tearing is usually generated by the frame rate exceeding your monitor's capability. Now, it can happen in more situations that it's just rare. Normally, when I see it, that's the scenario. Okay, so we've got our base, and we can come back out. Again, we saw about the same. Okay. I do have external sceneries loaded, but nothing for California, which is why we're in LA. The only item of significance would be the 747. And as you can see, obviously AI traffic isn't being modeled for squat. So, all right, let's go ahead and back out. So I'm going to close the sim down. And like I said, guys, this will make the video a little longer because I'm not going to be cutting these parts out. I want you guys to see everything firsthand because for all we know, some of these changes may impact the load time. So I want you guys to be able to witness that. All right, let's open up a new file explorer here, and we are going to go to our C drive. And this is also for Microsoft Store owners as far as this directory. I don't know if it's the same for Steam. I don't. But we're going to go to your username, whoever you're logged in with. We're going to go to app data. We're going to go to local. We're going to find packages. Where are you? There it is. And we're going to find our flight simulator, local cache, and the user config. All right. So you have, just looking for a second, making sure there's only one. All right. So we have post processes 1. Okay, and that was the last one. And post processes 2. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? All right. So any setting that we change on one, we want to make sure we change it to the other. Okay. Now, the first one that I am going to be messing around with is the film grain. Okay. I have seen film grain used before, and I don't like it. It takes a lot of the sharpness out, takes a lot of the detail out. So we're going to go to 0 there. Now, we're going to find the other one and make the same change. Oh, and that one's already set to 0. Okay, so these have to be different sections. I'm looking to see if it categorizes it anywhere. It doesn't look like it. Ah, VR. There we go. So you have your VR settings. And you have your graphics settings. Okay, these are going to be... So where it says graphics here, these are going to be your monitors. Anything that you have on the monitor. And then graphics VR settings. So if you are not a VR user, you don't have to worry about the second section, okay? I just want to make sure that they're all kept up together. So let's just focus on the monitor for today. I'll deal with VR another day. Okay, but just know that you can do the same manipulation with either one. All right, so we do have, let's see here, film grain, the vignette, dirt, lens distortion, fringe, sharpen, color grading. Let's just start with the film grain. Let's start by turning that off. Okay? And let's go ahead and go back into the sim. I promise my sim loads pretty quickly. Actually, I'll tell you what. I'll leave you guys out of the reloads. If it does happen, I'll let you know. Okay, so we are back in. Now, if you notice, we actually got a frame rate increase. Now, and which is interesting because the aircraft's actually sitting on the runway now. As far as visual quality, it seems smoother, and again, that's going to be because of the frame rate increase. Just a few frames can make it or break it. As far as the physical picture, and I really hope I'm not pissing anyone in multiplayer off by my plane just sitting there, but that's the way it's going. I don't know that I notice a ton of difference. I do notice a little bit more detail on some vehicles and objects that are a little bit further away. So that's actually kind of refreshing for me. I will say that I do see that. Do I think it's anything huge to write home about yet? No. Okay, jumping into the cockpit. Again, you can see we've gained a few frames. Nothing crazy, but definitely enough where it's noticeable. Now, the one thing that's ironic enough, it does seem that the screen tearing has now been reduced. Not gone, but it is reduced. Definitely not as prominent as it was, which is kind of odd. All right, so let's go ahead and check out our next setting. Okay, so we're back in our sheet here. And the other thing that I want you guys to always remember when you're doing testing like this, you'll watch a video and they're going to, show you 3 or 4 things that they've changed. Never change more than one object at a time. Okay, whenever we're doing testing of any kind, and I told you guys this in previous videos, especially when it's troubleshooting, when you're attempting to solve a problem, one setting at a time. Never change more than one setting at a time, because then when you see an effect change, you don't know what effect actually changed it, right? Now, the one cool thing about coming here to this particular file here, this configuration file, let's see if I can find it. Give me just a second here. It's interesting it shows windowed. I didn't think I was running windowed. I'm looking for the texture resolution setting because it requires you to restart. I'll have to go in and remember to see what setting it's currently set at, and that will help me identify it. Huh, interesting. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on down. So coming back down to our settings here, another one that people were mentioning that was causing an issue that I am kind of curious to see what happens is color grading. Now, color grading, I don't know what it does. I've never actually seen that setting before on any other simulator. But I've seen people try it, and they say that things change, lighten things up, or darken things a bit. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. All right, simulator coming up. All right, so here we are. We're back at LAX. Color grading has now been disabled. Film grain is now disabled. It actually looks like we might have lost a few frames. We'll see what happens when I'm not looking at the aircraft anymore. Like I said, these guys behind us are like, dude, move your plane. Sorry. If any of you are watching this video later, I'm so sorry. Alright, so never mind. It looks like that was just, if anything, we gained a few. So, this one with the film grain, this is one of those settings that I did not notice a difference in other YouTubers' videos. However, seeing it in person now, and maybe you guys see the same thing, maybe you won't. This might be something you have to see, because the other catch to all of this, guys, as you're watching this, is please keep in mind your monitor is different than mine. Your color settings on your monitor is different than mine. I have 3 of the exact same monitor, and you would not believe what it took to get them to all be close enough where I was happy that they're all displaying the same color. Okay, and they're not quite the same, but they're definitely close enough. I'm just a perfectionist and anal retentive. But anyway, so what I do like about this, as you guys are keeping that in mind, about the monitors being different, this looks less toony. Okay, and what I mean by toony is the colors with the color grading turned on almost seemed too vibrant. Okay, they were too powerful. The greens were too green. The blues were too blue. where this looks more city. Okay, it looks more real world. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I know that's probably a little silly, but I am digging this change. I'm okay with this so far. I'm kind of glad I did it because initially, like I said, this was one of the first settings I saw on YouTube, and I was very disappointed because I couldn't tell a difference. But now on my screen, I can. And I hate that light is a square. That just driving me crazy for some reason. Dude, they're all waiting for me, guys. I'm so sorry. Just go. Anyway, and we are going to get airborne at some point, and then we're going to bring the clouds in as well. All right, so let's check one more thing. The next thing we're going to take a look at is we're going to increase the LOD. Remember that is the distance at which objects appear. All right, so we're back at our cheat sheet here, or our configuration sheet. And now let's go to my texture resolution is set to high, so I was looking for that. Not there. Weird. All right, so now let's go ahead and we're going to mess with the LOD. We're going to start with the terrain. Now, this is where it's going to get a little hazy for me because I don't know how these are separated. You have the objects LOD and you have terrain LOD. We're going to start with terrain LOD as that's going to be the larger of the impacts. Remember what I've said in previous videos, terrain is the hardest thing for any simulator or game to load. So, I'm going to go to 3, okay? And we're going to hit save. And let's load in and see what the impact is. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys something. And this was something that I was sort of worried about. The terrain level of detail. We have ours set at 3. Okay. Notice what it does here. Okay, so for example, if this should be 2. So what we're doing is we're taking the terrain level of detail and actually going above what the initial settings in the game are. So I want you guys to be aware of that if you change this, you are changing this. Okay. The max that it can go is 2. So for example, if we do this, watch this. I'm gonna bring it down. Hit apply and save. When I click on my notepad, I get this. This file has been modified by another program. I hit yes to reload it. Notice 145%. 1.45. Okay. Now, we can do the same thing going the other direction. At least we should be able to. So 2 is the max that the GUI will let you set it to. So anything above that you need to really keep in mind. So for example, if we go to 4, or even the 3 that we had it, let's do 3. And we can do the same thing with objects level of detail. Go to 3. Hit save. Now, we may have to reload the sim because it may have to regenerate the config file. Yep, we do. All right, so let's come out. But I wanted you guys to see that if you play with those settings in the sim, you're going to change it in your document. Okay, and so for example, yeah, as the sim closed, it put it back to what it was. So we're going to take this back again, and we're going to go 3.00, and here we're just going to put a 3. And we're going to hit save. I just wanted you guys to see that relationship between the two. All right, I'm going to relaunch the sim, and I'll see you guys in a second. Okay, so now we're back in. Now, look what happened. Our frame rate is tanking. So, guys, in case you're wondering, this is exactly how, as I mentioned earlier, Microsoft Flight Simulator got the FPS we were getting. Okay, by making sacrifices like this. And like I said earlier, you know, this is where it should have had the Xbox version should have had its own setting, had its own configuration. But this is why we were getting such great frame rates. But now look at it, it's tanked. Everything looks great out there. But let's see what we can do. So I'm not going to mess with the terrain level of detail. Oh, I don't know why I always go up there. But let's mess with the objects level of detail. So you can see it's max, and they're actually above 200%. And actually, no, they're not. Well, maybe they are. That's weird. Something changed. When I clicked on the notepad, I got that error again, or that message again, that something had modified the configuration file, but I don't see that our numbers have changed. But for example, let's bring this back down to 100%. Let's see what we get. Okay, so that's better. We're back in the 30s, but you can see it's still, depending on what direction you go, and that's without any clouds in. We throw some clouds in that, and it's going to tank. So let's go back into our options, and now I'm going to take our terrain level of detail back to 100. Okay, so there's your answers, guys. Excuse me. So you're seeing a lot of people doing these LOD changes. Okay. If you're seeing videos like that, understand. I wanted you guys to understand where the relationship was and what it was you were actually changing and what it was doing. So yeah, they're getting gorgeous pictures and things like that, but at a significant cost. Okay. So be thinking about that. Understand where the relationship is. I do still like the color changes. Let's verify that those didn't change. I don't think they should have changed. Oh, nope. Film grain came back on. And the color grading came back on, which means it's in there. So let's see if we can find it. So maybe we don't have access to those. So what I would recommend based on that new information, we're going to go back in. I am going to return the film grain removed and the color grading removed. But understand that if you use any of these presets, you will have to go back in there and change it again. Okay. I hope this is giving you guys something to think about. I know this isn't the way that we want to do this. I agree that it's... Oh, I don't want the ATC. I agree that it's crappy and unnecessary that we should have to dig through all of these holes in order to make the simulator look the way it was when we bought the thing. But unfortunately, it is just one of those natures of the beast, if you will. So let's see here. Oh, something did it again. So I'm going to come back over here one last time. I am going to change this back to 0. I did notice a difference between the film grain and the color grading being disabled. However, I'm not going to be messing with the LOD. I did not feel that the visual quality was enhanced enough where it was worth the performance loss. And as you guys saw, the performance loss was pretty significant. Now, again, I don't have a 30 series card. There's my graphics card right there. But still, I mean, the 2080 Ti was no slug. So just keep that in mind. And hopefully you guys find a setting that works for you. And as I keep discovering new solutions to different problems, as people keep reporting them, I will keep posting on them, guys. And hopefully I'll be able to square most of you guys away as these videos continue. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will catch you in the next one.